Okay, this project I think you're going to have a lot of fun with. Because we're approaching fall, or are in fall right now, I've decided to draw a leaf and use fall colors. And for this project, I am using an assortment of colors, of markers that I'm going to add to my leaf, and the same colors to my background to create a pattern and geometric shapes that you'll see. And I'm using these Bic markers. They're actually pretty good. They have a nice fine point, but you can use any markers that you have. If you don't have any markers, then I suggest you could use pencils or crayons, colored pencils or crayons for this. So what I'm going to be doing is, first of all, we're going to be drawing the leaf, and then we're going to be creating a frame around the leaf so that we can incorporate some patterns around the leaf. So this is the example that I worked up. Now I'm going to use a square piece of paper, and I've already kind of lightly sketched out the leaf, but we'll draw it together. And I'm going to, you can first use your pencil to do your sketch and then trace over it with a black Sharpie marker. Now after I draw it, then we're going to be adding the veins in the leaf as well. So you can see I'm going to start just below the top of my paper, and I'm going to start with a dot and then take my line coming down at an angle slightly and make a slight curve up, under, and up again, and then stop. So basically what I'm creating is like a wavy triangle. I'm going to go back to where the dot is, and I'm going to do the same, roughly the same shape that I did on the left side. Okay, so make sure that it's wider at the base and it's skinnier at the top. And then we're going to do the sides of the leaf. So you're going to go right to where this line ended and extend it out. You're going to make a soft curve up, and you'll notice that the leaf has points to it. I believe the leaf is a sweet gum maple. And then you're going to take a curve, and it curves out, and then we're going to stop. You can see again it's wider at the base and it's tapered at the top. We're going to do the same thing at the other side, kind of curve up, go out at an angle and stop, and then kind of curve under and stop across for where you stopped on the left side. We're going to go back to the left side and curve out. Make sure you've got a point, kind of go up and under and stop. We're going to go to the other side, curve down, and then you're going to stop, curve up, soft curve, and then curve under. Okay, and then we're going to do the stem. So you're going to curve out, take a short line across, and then draw right back up. So you can see it's a nice curved shape, but every part of your leaf has a point to it. And once you're done, you're going to cap your marker. Once you're done with drawing your leaf, you're going to erase any existing pencil lines. And clean up your eraser shavings there. All right, so now I'm going to be drawing the veins in my leaf, and I'm going to start at the top, and you can use a pencil first, but if you feel comfortable using your marker, that's fine too. And then you're going to just take a line that's going to go straight down the center of the leaf right to where the top of the stem is. All right, and then we're going to go where you stopped, and you're going to take a line going right up at an angle to the second section of your leaf, and then you're going to go to the last part and go right to the end, do a soft curve up, and then stop. All the lines stop right at the top of your stem. We're We're going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So you're going to go to the point and you're going to take that right down at an angle. Again, stopping at the same point as the other lines did, and then make a slight curve and go right to these lines. So you have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines running through your leaf. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start separating the space. Now, observing leaves, you'll notice that the veins go up at an angle. So I'm going to go right from the point of the leaf down a little bit and go right up at an angle. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, I'm going to space my next line down a little bit further. And I'm going to go up at an angle. And on the other side, do the same thing, up at an angle. And then I'm going to go right where the end of this first triangle, you could say, is. And I'm going to draw a line going right to the center vein. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side so they meet each other. Okay. Now, on this side, and what you could do is just slightly move your paper at an angle so it's easier to access the line and draw it. Draw a line at an angle to the center vein and on the other side. And what I'm going to do with the next section is go where the first part of my leaf is, right at the end. I'm going to take a line right there and I'm going to come down at an angle and then go right here in between the other two sections of the leaf and draw another line. Again, they're straight lines and they are angled. Okay, and let's go to this bottom section here, and I'm going to go where this bottom of the triangle is, and I'm going to take a line coming right to that center vein in the middle of this section, and I'm going to go to the other side. Okay, so we've got the right hand finished. Now I'm going to tilt it slightly and I'm going to do the other side. So take your time. Okay, now I'm going to take a line from the top, take a straight line at an angle to that center vein and go back up at an angle. So it looks like an arrow when you look at it. I'm going to draw another line, spacing them apart and go up at an angle. And then the last section, I'm going to go right in between these two sections of the leaf. And I'm going to take that down at an angle and go right in between these two sections of the leaf. And I'm going to take that and they're connecting to that center part of the vein. And then the last part of my leaf, I'm going to take another straight line at an angle. Okay, and there you have your leaf. Now, before you start using, now if you are going to use a marker, I strongly suggest that you have a supporting piece of paper underneath, because markers can bleed through, as you can see on this example that I have. It may or may not bleed through to the desk or table that you're working on, but you want to make sure that you're protecting your surface. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do is draw a frame that's going to frame my leaf, and I'm going to take my ruler just slightly above my leaf, and I'm going to do this in pencil right now so that I have an idea of where I want to draw my frame. Okay, so I'm drawing a light line right now, very close to the top part of my leaf. And another thing is that when you draw a leaf, you want it at least as big as your hand. Any smaller, it'll be really difficult to see any sections of color clearly. You want to have at least the size of, when you open up your hand, at least that big. Okay, now I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to go right along the edge of my leaf. I'm going to draw a light line, and I'm using pencil because I want to make sure that I have the lines where I want them. So the line is going to be pretty close to the leaf. So you definitely are showcasing your leaf and framing it at the same time. So you're going to go just a little bit below the end of the stem and draw a line going across. This one's not meeting, so you want to make sure that they all meet on the four sides of your frame. And then draw one more line. Okay, now if you have to make any adjustments, you can always cut off any existing paper around it so that it'll definitely show the leaf up more. So we can trace that before we get started, or after we're finished coloring the leaf. So I've chosen these colors because I think they're wonderful fall colors. And what I'm going to do is make sure it's cleaned up with any pencil lines. You know, clean it up with your hands, and then you're going to start coloring in different sections of your leaf. Okay, take your time. You want a few colors if you can muster up a few kind of earth tones for your leaf. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to look at some other spaces and create some balance and color on my composition. So I'm going to add this color over here. And take your time when you're coloring. You may want to hold your paper down so it doesn't move with your other hand. And stay inside those lines. And my art assistant is right over here. His name is Mookie. And he has the need to join me when I'm doing my artwork. Okay. And I'll just move his feet over just a tiny bit. I can still color. Okay, well, I'll move him over a little bit more. Okay, Mookie, stop it. Move it. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to add some of that color over here. For obvious reasons, you don't want to use the same color next to each other. So I wouldn't use this color right next to the one I've already colored in, or right over here where I've colored that part in. Okay, now I'm going to add some over here to this side. And when you take your time and you go slowly, you have really nice results. Okay, I'm going to go over here. All right, and I think I've got a nice array of that color. Cap your marker and put it to the side. I'm going to choose another color, maybe something lighter. Make sure that you don't have any feet in your way. And I'm going to, as you can see, I'm placing the color. There we go. Around my leaf, but trying to have it balanced. All right, and I'm going to add some over here. And these colors, you'll notice, kind of popping up now because of the fall season, which is one of my favorites. So I'm basically just randomly coloring in each section of my leaf. And I think that's good. So make sure you cap your marker tight, put that to the side, and choose another color. Okay, I'm going to add that over here. And over here. And I think I'll do this tip right here. Okay, so I've made sure that I've colored all the sections in. Cap my marker, and I'm going to move on to another color. I'm going to choose this peach color. And as you can see, I'm just moving each color throughout each section of the leaf. And I'm going to do this section here. Now, if you have a limited amount of color, then you can add a color pencil that has an earth tone to it. Just make sure you add a bit of pressure to the leaf as you're coloring it so that the color will pop. And let me do this section here. Okay. And I don't think I would color it right in this section because I already have right there. So I'm going to cap the marker and move on to my next color. A nice deep plum. Okay, it's really shaping up. I like how it's looking. almost has the feel of stained glass, the way the veins break up the space on the leaf, and with the addition of all these wonderful colors. Okay. And I just have 2 more sections left on my leaf to color in. You could go back in and use one of the first 2 colors that you started out with to fill that in. But if you have a nice assortment of colors, then maybe you could do 1 more into the last part of your leaf. So I have this wonderful kind of mustard color, and it's slightly darker than the one that's opposite it, so I think that'll work. And I'm gonna color in my stem to finish it off. Okay, now put that aside, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace over my pencil lines. I think I need to move this over just a little bit. Sometimes you might need to make an adjustment, and that's okay. I'm just going to move that over, and then I'm going to use a black Sharpie marker to trace the frame that's around my leaf. Hold your hand steady with a little bit of pressure on your marker, and then glide your marker line along the edge of your ruler. Okay, and make sure you're able to see the lines as you trace them. And my last line is right here. So basically, I want the frame to be close to the edges of my leaf. You're going to cap your marker, erase any existing pencil lines. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to break up the space in the background. Okay, the leaf is positive space, and it's the center of my frame, and it is the focal point. And then this is the negative space surrounding my leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up the space. Now you can use a pencil at first if you feel most comfortable. You want to make sure that your lines touch each other. So I've got my first line, and I'm using my ruler to have a straight edge. Very, very short line here at the top. And I'm going to move my ruler angle at a diagonal and draw it to the leaf. I'm going to then have it angled down. And as you can see, the line touches each other. We have the lines touch in between. And then I'm going to go across and do a line at an angle on this side. And actually right across from the sides of my leaf, which allows a very short space. And then I'm going to break up the space on the bottom. So you really don't have much space in the background, but we want to have some kind of interesting design in the background. Oop. So look what happened. That line, I'm gonna fix it though. I'm gonna have to straighten it out just a little bit, go back over it, and then take it down at an angle, and that works out. Okay, and then just one more straight line on the corner. All right, so I have the background space broken up. I'm going to be capping my marker, and then I'm going to be going back and use the marker colors that I've used in the leaves. So I have these colors right here, and as you can see in my example, I have different patterns. Now, a pattern is an element of art that is repeated in a composition. So you can see I have small circles and a little bit larger circles, straight lines, triangles, circles and dots, zigzags, kind of a funny, funky shape there. X's, more lines, wavy lines, curved and star shapes, and then more straight lines. You don't necessarily have to do the same patterns that I've created. Now, many of the patterns that you see here are geometric shapes, so they're precise and regular. For example, like I said, circles, you could use squares and triangles. So what you're gonna do is I'm gonna start at the top and start working in my colors. And you can, like coloring in your leaf, you can do different patterns in the same color that you start off with. And I think I'm going to just start off with some triangles and angle lines to fill up this space. And you can have these triangles and angle lines going in different directions. They don't all have to go in the same direction. The idea is really just to fill the space that you have in this section of your background. Okay, now I'm going to choose another area to do a different pattern, and I think I'll just do some small X's. Take your time. Try to make them as neat as possible for better results. And then I'll add a pattern over here. So I think here what I'll do is I'll just make some nice curved lines. So when using this color, as you can see, I've spaced the color out. I'm not using this color next to each other. And taking your time to fill up your area. Okay, now I'm going to switch to another color, so make sure you cap your markers tightly. You don't want them to dry out. And this one I'm going to just do some larger and smaller circles. So it's a nice contrast with the leaf that's been colored in and these patterns. As you can see, I'm not coloring them in, I'm leaving them empty. If you wanted to color them in, you could. but I want the leaf to be the emphasis of my picture. Okay, and then I will move that color down here, and I think what I'll do is I'll add some stripes. So I think you don't have to use your ruler, but I think it's a great tool to use and have on hand, or something that has a nice straight edge. So basically, make sure that you don't go through your leaf. You can remove your ruler to see where you're at, or take your ruler to the other side. Actually, it's easier for me to work from this side. And be careful not to go through the leaf, but go around it and filling in your space. Okay, and if there's some areas that you can't get in with your ruler, just do your best. Okay, all right, so now let's see, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna make some zigzags. It's not much space over here. Very little space, but it's a fun challenge. Okay, now I'm going to cap it and work with another color. And I think this one I will make like star shapes. You make a cross and then you go right from top to bottom through the center. And if you want, you can do one more, so you've got a nice like star shape. So 1, 2 lines, 3, and then one more. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines that cross over each other. And you see I'm taking my time, I'm not rushing. It's a lot more fun to take your time. You have such nice results if you do. Okay, so what can I do here? So obviously I would not use the same color right here, but I think I'll bring my color down there, and I'm just gonna do some wavy lines. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 4 more sections to create a pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this color up into this corner, and I'm just going to start right at the base of this shape and make like a a fan pattern with it. So I'll just draw a straight line against the ruler, and then I'll continue to start from the same section but move my ruler over just a little bit. Might be easier to work underneath it so you can see where your lines are going. And then you can just kind of move it over, all starting from the same point, as you can see here. Move your ruler down slightly. Okay, and then I have 3 more sections left. I think I'll switch into another color. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do these boxy pattern. So I go straight, over, straight, in, and just keep going. Okay, and then I'll just do the same thing. And you can go in either direction. And they're close to each other. And I'm starting to run out of space. So you want to make sure you fill up your space. I'm going to add something over here, and I will just do some circle with a dot, kind of like a little bullseye. And maybe you can do like part of a pattern. It's okay if it goes right off the edge. And then I have just one more section. And I think I'll just switch to another color. And I think I'll just do some all medium-sized circles. Okay, and up. I just noticed a little bit of space that I did not finish in that corner, and I'm just gonna go in here and finish that off. All right, so there you have it. Take a look, see if there are any other areas that you might need to add a little bit more to. And I think right there. And now we're complete. Happy fall. It's a wonderful time of year. And I will see you next week. Thank you.